the Gateway pundit, Jim Hoft, and Patty McMurray of 100% Fed Up. Today we have a very special guest, Victor Avila, who is a former special agent with ICE. And before we get started, we just wanted to mention that this interview is being generously sponsored by Mike Lindell of MyPillow. Jim, did you want to say something about your MyPillow, or is it okay if I kind of just tell my experience with it real quick before we get started? Go ahead. Okay.
I just want people to know that if they use the code, is it 100 GP, 100 GP, yes, pound 100 GP, then they get a discount of, I believe, 60%.
Up to 66%.
And it also helps Gateway Pundit and 100% Fed Up. So that would be terrific. We're going to scroll the advertisement below the video today as we go live. So, and Patty, you have an incredible story already.
So yeah, so I was just telling Jim and Victor before we got started, and I know it's going to sound a little bit hokey, maybe not believable, but I've had arthritis in my neck since I've been in my 20s, so for a few years, and I got my first pillow in the mail last week, and I decided that I would try it just to see how it felt. And I woke up the next morning and I barely had any pain in my neck. And that's the first time in years that that's happened to me. Decades, really. I've had pain in my neck every morning when I wake up. So I'm here to tell you that I am a believer. I've been sleeping on that pillow now for a week. I've never had so much movement in my neck. I mean, for me, it's been like an unbelievable godsend. So I just wanted to mention that I am a real life testimonial of the MyPillow and how it really has helped me with the arthritis in my neck. So let's move on now to our interview with Victor.
That's great.
We have a video. Are we ready to show the video that Victor took last week on the border? And then Victor can explain kind of what he saw down there after we show this quick clip of a bus. And Victor, if you want to go ahead and narrate it while the bus is here.
Yes. So I was there last week, and what you're seeing here is this bus coming directly straight from the river, the levee, where you're going to see women and children unloading here into this facility here, this makeshift tent area. And I'll explain to it how it happens. This is what you're seeing is downtown McAllen, Texas, right across the street from the bus station. This bus that you see, this white bus, is a government bus that brought all these illegal aliens, men, women, and children, straight from the border. These individuals, 400 plus, I saw them. I was down there with the border agents. I talked to the border agents. As a matter of fact, even when I was talking to the border agents, I still, even myself, was under the assumption that they were going straight to the Donna facility, the one that everybody's familiar with, that we've seen all the pictures of. And there's like, no, these people are not going to a detention facility. They're not going to any detention facility, any border patrol facility. They're going straight to the street. So what they did is these people have not been tested for DNA. So we don't know if the children that these adults are carrying are actually their children. That's one major point. The second is because of the positive COVID cases that happened in the previous weeks, they set up this makeshift tent across the street from the bus station in downtown McAllen, Texas, to test them at least for COVID. But here's the issue that I had with that. They go in there, they get tested, which is all fine. And if they're negative, it's all great. They go from there to a place called Catholic Charities, which is an NGO. I don't know how much or if it has really anything to do with the Catholic Church, but I think in some ways they're complicit with what they're doing here. But they go to the Catholic Charities, and I actually gained access into the Catholic Charities, which very few people have. And it's a place in there that's highly organized. They get toiletries, wash up, shampoo, toothpaste, stuff like that, some clothing, a meal. They get to make sometimes some clothing and wash up, and then they leave there with money. They wouldn't acknowledge where the money comes from. This is the same thing This other bus that you're seeing is exactly the same thing, but instead of the white bus that you saw, we've upgraded them to coach buses. And this bus is coming from that river. Now, people might get confused here because it's going to go through the wall. The wall system down there in area is a 2-tier wall system. This is not coming from Mexico. This bus is already in the U.S. that from the aliens that turned themselves in from the river. And this is one portion of the wall that obviously you see that it's incomplete that are coming through. So anyway, finishing off that part of the first of where they end up, when they go in and get into that tent to get tested for COVID, I asked the border agent and the guard that was there. I said, "What happens when the adult tests positive and the child tests negative? Do you separate them there, or what happens?" Well, first they tell me if they test positive, they get sent to hotels to quarantine, right? And this is the $86 million from the Biden administration that was allotted to do that. And I said, but what happens if they, the same family unit are half and half? Some test positive, some test negative. What happens? Are you going to separate the children from the adults at that point? And they just stared at me like a deer in headlights because they would not answer the question. Leads me to believe that they're just all sent to a hotel altogether anyway, which in turn you end up possibly having positive COVID cases coming to a town near you, which had already happened in the past before. But here's the issue that I have, a big one. They get from that Catholic Charities, they now have money or airfare or bus fare to get to their final destination. And now I saw them both board buses and board Southwest Airlines and American Airlines flights without an identification. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? These individuals do not have a valid identification. How are they allowed to board an airplane? I had to board an airplane with my ID or else I wouldn't have been allowed to travel. But if you're illegal, you're allowed to travel and board based on the form that Border Patrol gives you. In some cases, if you do go to the detention facility, they give you an NTA, the notice to appear. This is the official court document that you're going to get a hearing before an asylum judge or immigration judge within 2-3 years, whenever that happens. And we know that the statistics that most of them are not going to show up. The people that I saw and that went straight to the street did not even get issued an NTA, a notice to appear. So they're not even in the system that way. What they instructed them to do is when you get to your final destination, please go to your local ICE office and check in. And so you got to be kidding me that this is what we're running down there and this is what's happening down there. And so I have a lot of strong opinions when it comes to that as a former border agent that worked most of my career on the border and in Mexico. Now, I asked the border agent at the airport in Harlingen, Texas. I said, listen, what's going on? Why are they being allowed to board? Who is not waiving this federal the restriction? I mean, the ID requirement. Who's waiving it? And he's like, they're letting them board with either the NTA if they come from the detention facility, or since the ones that I saw do not have an NTA, Border Patrol issues them a Form 213, which is it's a form I'm very familiar with. It's a Form 213 is like a biographical information sheet. It has your name, address, date of birth, stuff like that. But the information on there is whatever the alien provided. And there's no verification of that. We don't have verification of date of birth. We don't have, the consulates are nowhere to be found. That was a big issue because when I worked in my career, every time I arrested a foreign national, one of the first things I had to do immediately is to contact that foreign national's consulate and let them know I have a Brazilian in custody. I have a Chinese national in custody. I have a Honduran national in custody or a Mexican national in custody. And so that was part of my process when I arrested someone. I don't know, is that being done? Because I didn't see, the Border Patrol agents told me to my face, the consulates are nowhere to be found. And the reason why this is important is because the consulates are they have the systems from their country to check for criminal histories, to check for date of birth, to check for birth certificates and verification of this person's identity, which is a big deal. We want to know because a lot of individuals, and I'm telling you information that I got straight from the Border Patrol agents, a lot of these individuals that are coming over, these young men by themselves, are 21, 22, claiming to be 17 years old to gain access as an unaccompanied minor. Because if you're an unaccompanied minor, even if you're 17, you're treated as if you're 5 or 6. And no questions asked, you're an unaccompanied minor. And I have a very different opinion about 15, 16, 17-year-olds that are coming in that fashion, because a lot of the cartels recruit these individuals at a younger age, at 12, 13, 14. And also, a lot of these individuals are self-admitted gang members and have affiliations to gangs and, of course, to the cartels. And if they're coming in as unaccompanied minors, we're not checking them. We don't know their criminal history. We don't know what they've done for the cartels. We don't know what crimes they've committed. And these individuals are coming to a town near you. There's a big issue here with sustainability, with crime, with education. I just can't foresee how the Biden administration didn't think this through, that all of a sudden you have all these individuals, hundreds of thousands of them now, coming to these small towns. And do they expect a 15-year-old to automatically just go into school and acclimate from one day to the other? The border agents told me, listen, a lot of these people, Victor, the 400 plus that were there, a lot of them can't even read or write Spanish. And so we have education issues, health issues. They're coming across with lice, tuberculosis. They've never been vaccinated like a U.S. citizen is against the measles and all this stuff that we're used to being vaccinated since you're born. They've never been vaccinated for that. So they're bringing those health conditions with them as well. And so it is a mess, and it's beyond a crisis. And this is what's going to happen when it trickles, and the ripple effect is going to start coming into the rest of the country, which is it's already happening. The individuals that I saw there, most of them were coming to the northeast part of the country, from Michigan on out to New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, that part of the country.
Hey, Victor, I had a question. And so you're saying that if somebody comes to the U.S., crosses the border, and they could tell you whatever country, they can make up any country and just tell you that they're from that country, and they just let them walk right in. That's basically the process. And I had a follow-up question. Last month, there was 170,000 plus of these migrants who came across the border this way. That's more than the population of Springfield, Missouri. I think the third largest city in Missouri. And that, talk about a crisis. It's incredible. So anyway, is that what you were saying?
Yes. So that's a great point, Jim, because these individuals, a lot of them, and we know because the U.S. Border Patrol and CBP, Customs and Border Protection, reported just a few days ago of the 2 Yemenis that were arrested in separate occasions in March that were on the terror watch list and the no-fly list. These are terrorists, right? Possible terrorists. They were caught. Thank goodness these 2 individuals were caught. But it just goes to prove that those type of individuals are still seeking to come into the country. There was 11 Iranians arrested in Arizona about a month and a half ago. And so this is the national security issue that I think a lot of people don't recognize. And you're absolutely right, Jim. There are individuals that we don't know based even on their looks. They pretend they don't speak Spanish. Well, you know what? I just told you, most of them don't speak, very little Spanish, or they can't read and write Spanish, or they learn just enough Spanish to get through with Border Patrol saying they're from Guatemala or they're from Honduras. This picture right here is the very first encounter that these individuals come up from the walk from the river. This makeshift station here is under a bridge in Mission, Texas, about a 2-mile walk from I took these pictures, 2-mile walk from the river up to this location. And here's the problem that it started happening initially. That 2-mile walk, and you've seen the videos of them, the migrants walking on these dirt roads. Well, it's a maze of dirt roads, and they were getting lost and dehydrated and a lot of issues. So Border Patrol started putting up signage, arrows, come this way, not left, right, guiding them to turn themselves in, which, let me tell you, I have to share this with you. I was down there and I was standing there at the border in the levee, and I went through a lot of emotions there. Disbelief, sadness. You see these children, and these a lot of the stuff is not to blame on them. There's some on the parents that I'll address right now, but also the kind of the hopelessness, and also thinking, what is going on here? This is upside down. This is backwards. This is not America. This is not the way we function in our country. We have laws. The immigration laws, at least in the area where I was at, are being ignored completely. There's no enforcement of any kind. Not just immigration laws. The information I provided with you about the 21-year-olds claiming to be 17, that's a false statement to a federal agent. If you do that in the U.S., you'll be arrested and charged with providing a false statement to a law enforcement agent. But they're not, because they're illegal. There are many other crimes being committed, but none of them are being enforced. For example, boarding an airplane without an identification. I know there's a law there. We all have to do it, but if you're illegal, you don't. And this is not the correct way to enter this country. I'm a very pro-legal immigration person, and I understand there's issues that we have to deal with that system as well. But we are promoting, or at least the Biden administration is promoting, illegal immigration versus the legal, because the legal immigrants that have gone through the process right now, that are waiting, that did go through the health screening, that did go through the criminal checks, and that are waiting in line, all of a sudden they're just on the sidelines. Here's the picture of the Catholic Charities NGO that the guard actually let me in, and is highly organized. There's something going on with a group of NGOs, not just here, but down in Mexico, down in Central America, even down into South America, with the aid and abetting of this system. There's a lot of money here, a lot of money trading hands, not just to the cartels, but to the NGOs. The NGOs, some of them, I'm not saying all of them, some of them are hide behind, the church name. They hide behind, we're here to help a humanitarian cause. And there's some that are good, but there's also very, very bad ones in there that are using this to exploit the undocumented individuals coming through. So as you can see, it's a large number of issues, and it doesn't end at the border. The issues don't stop there; they actually begin there. And Jim, you're the second part of these individuals coming to a town near you, already happening around the border. The sheriffs, the school systems are already not knowing what to do with absorbing all these kids, all these family units. All of a sudden, they don't have the resources. The sheriffs all of a sudden don't have the number of deputies adequate as as you have per capita to patrol the city. It is a huge ripple effect that's going to continue to happen. And my biggest fear is that the criminal element involved in these caravans is that it's going to end up affecting a U.S. citizen, and that I don't want to see another U.S. citizen be hurt at the hands of an illegal alien. And I was down there. I met with a lot of angel moms and angel dads, and these are families that have lost their loved one that have been killed at the hands of an illegal alien. We can't forget about them either. They have been permanently separated from their family. And there's a great project called the Remembrance Project. And if you want to look it up, it's a great one. You could support the remembranceproject.org. They're great in not forgetting these families and what they've gone through.
Victor, I'm familiar with those families because I've talked to a number of them, and I know it's just incredible the pain that these families are going through. And honestly, the hope that President Trump gave them that this problem would be turned around. They had so much hope and enthusiasm for this president that many of them were out campaigning with him because they saw that he was taking the border issue seriously. And like you said, I mean, they don't want to see another family have to go through what they went through. So it's really horrifying. And, we're talking about these younger men that are coming over. Are they checking them for marks? I mean, because a lot of these MS-13 gang members are, have tattoos that indicate that they're members of the gangs. Are they checking them, or is it just a free-for-all down
Well,
there?
you see, so this is another thing, a great question, because it's another thing that the border agents told me that's happening. Initially, a few weeks back, they were all coming in all together, family units mixed in with these young adults. And they were separating the adults, arresting them, and sending them back. All of a sudden, the border agents tell me that the cartels started doing that for them on the other side. Believe it or not, the cartels are vetting these individuals that if they're members of the cartel or a gang member from El Salvador, MS-13, or Guatemala, then they're separating them and they're not allowing them to go in with these family units anymore because they don't want Border Patrol to be dealing with them and, making the whole process look bad. So they're smuggling these individuals. So you just heard about an MS-13 member that was caught. So they are catching some of these, but as the border agents tell me, the smuggling and the human trafficking and the drug trafficking continues. As a matter of fact, even more so now, because the cartels know that the border agents are overwhelmed by taking care of the hundreds of thousands of individuals coming over. And so they're so preoccupied as caretakers right now. And I call them MAs, medical assistants. They do a lot of things there to take care of these migrants, to either shift them straight to the street or to the detention facility, that they don't have the manpower or time to actually patrol the border, as their name implies, the Border Patrol, right? And I asked them, when was the last time you went down there? Because I went down there, I drove all that area, and there's no border agents to be found. And they said, oh, Victor, we haven't been down there in weeks. We just want to go back and do our jobs, but they're not allowed to by the Biden administration. And so these individuals are coming in undetected. I don't know if I sent you this video. I might have, but there's a video of a tractor trailer that is being offloaded near San Antonio, Texas, with dozens and dozens of males jumping off the back and just being offloaded as a reminder that, in fact, these smuggling ventures continue. The people that do not want to get detected, by the way, there's many individuals, thousands of them, that want to be smuggled, do not want to turn themselves in, because we have prior deports. We have individuals that have been in our country, have been convicted of sex crimes, have been convicted of drug crimes, have been convicted of violent crimes, have been deported. Guess what? They're taking advantage to come back too. And so they're taking advantage to be smuggled back in. Border Patrol has, in other sectors, have caught some of these individuals, but the gotaways is what we talk about. And that's how Border Patrol refers to the individuals that are not detected and gain access, are the gotaways. They got away from detection, and we actually don't know the real number, but they're in the tens of thousands as well that have come in. And based on the others that have been apprehended, we just have to assume that there's bad individuals that have been gained access into our country based on the vulnerabilities that we're seeing down at the southern border.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone can notice, but I'm in a hotel room. I'm actually visiting my daughter in college. And when I got to my hotel room, only certain floors in the hotel are open. There's a seal on the door that lets you know that the room has been sanitized, right? So that if you're worried about getting COVID, you know that the room has been properly sanitized. Jim and I think both wrote articles the other day about these 7 hotels in Texas and Arizona that are being opened up to the migrants. I'm wondering how many of those hotels are taking any COVID precautions, and how many of the people that are being transported to these hotels are being checked for COVID or any other communicable diseases. I mean, it's not just COVID. It's, like you said, tuberculosis, it's whooping cough, it's other things that are, really serious illnesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't answer the question, but I tend to believe that not the same precautions are taken in account somehow, some way, for some reason here. And obviously, I think it might be an intentional reason here, is that they get away with not enforcing the rules or laws against the illegal aliens for some, I don't know why. Why? We already know that they're circumventing their immigration laws, so they're not having that law enforced against them. Many immigration laws. Oh, by the way, let me mention the asylum, because this is something that I write in my book, and because I've been dealing with this for many years. And by the way, I didn't hear the word asylum not once down there. All of a sudden, I think they forgot that you have to actually seek asylum. And the correct way to seek asylum is to go to a port of entry. You can't seek asylum by how the law is written at the river. That's not the way it works. Second of all, the criteria to seek asylum is very simple. It hasn't changed. It's exactly the same. It's just the Obama and the Biden administrations have completely disregarded our own laws. And I always say, if you want to change the asylum laws, change them legislatively. But not even that. They just are ignoring them completely. The criteria to seek and to qualify for asylum, you have to be persecuted by your government because of your race, nationality, or your political opinion or membership in any special group. These individuals, the vast majority, if not almost all of them, do not qualify. They say down there, they talk to the border agents, they come clean. They even forgot to claim credible fear about that, because that's what they tell them. You have to go and tell them that you can't go back because they're going to kill you. That's the number one reason, credible fear. And then when you ask them down there, they're like, well, the cartel killed my father, or a gang killed my brother. And that's terrible, right? That's the terrible condition. We know the conditions in these countries are bad, and the crime is bad. And they're like, it's a lot of crime over there, and I just want to come over here and work and get away from that. And I'm thinking, you know what? We have a lot of crime here. Go to St. Louis. Go to Chicago.
Absolutely.
Go to Maryland. We have an incredible amount of. We have rapists here. We have murderers here. We have a big issue with crime in our country. All of a sudden, this had nothing to do with being a humanitarian or not being care for these individuals. I understand. I have an understanding of what's going on, but this does not apply to our laws. And if you would follow the asylum law, you wouldn't allow them in. That's why the Remain in Mexico and seeking asylum from your home country was such an effective order from President Trump, because guess what? They know that they don't qualify. They know that they might not even apply. But when you tell them you could wait in our country until you get that asylum hearing, they're gone. In 2-3 years, they've already gotten pregnant, already had another child. The kids are in school. And then by the time they see an asylum judge, they're like, well, judge, I came here with nothing, but now I have a little apartment. Now I have a U.S. citizen child. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. I work. They paint a different picture to the judge, right? This is not the way you gain access lawfully into our country. And of course, you can't ignore the criminal element that is attached. I'm not a fearmonger by any means. I'm just telling you what's going to happen, because it is going to happen. And it's unfortunate that some people are going to wake up and see until they become victims of a crime at the hands of illegal aliens. I mean, you know what MS-13 does? They don't just kill people. They hack them up in pieces. And this is the reality of what's going to happen, especially at our schools. When your son and your daughter have been in a school with a teacher with 15 students, all of a sudden you're going to have 20, 22, and those other 6-8 students can't speak read or write Spanish, let alone English, and all the attention is going to go to that child, but not yours. And yours is a U.S. citizen that lives in this country and was born in this country. And so I tell you, it's upside down, it's backwards. If you're a U.S. citizen, you're put second under this administration. If you're a foreigner or illegal, you're put first, and that's a shame.
Yeah, and it's interesting how illegal aliens don't spread COVID either. I mean, we can't overlook that. I mean, I live in the lockdown state of Michigan, where our governor is back to asking people to stay home and not go anywhere, but we're importing illegal aliens that very likely haven't been checked for COVID into our state. And so while Michigan citizens are asked to sacrifice, to give up their businesses, to give up any kind of communication they have with their parents or grandparents in nursing homes, or any kind of interaction with them, we're importing illegal aliens into our state. It's just, you're right, it's just completely upside down and backwards.
They will spread COVID. All you need is one. All you need is one to do it, and you're seeing these spikes in these states, and they want to blame the spikes on, well, the kids are playing sports, or the kids are having, or they're too free. You've been out too much.
Right.
We're going to corral you back again because you've been out too much. That's not the case. It's you're getting people from other countries bringing COVID and a lot of other issues like you mentioned, but they won't acknowledge that. I'm originally from El Paso, Texas, and they had a huge spike last year. Huge spike in COVID. I mean, they were shut down, and my family's part of it. My parents still live there, and I'm like, what's going on? What the heck is going on down there? It's the illegals that they kept on letting come over from the border. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, he refuses to say that this is a crisis. He refuses to acknowledge it and even use the word. And the representative down there from El Paso, the Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, who took over after Beto, they refuse to acknowledge that, in fact, there are positive COVID cases being picked up by U.S. ambulances at the border, and they've spread it around, and they will refuse to say that at least is partly a factor. I'm just saying, let's just say it's a factor. I'm not saying it's 100%, but that's certainly a big factor. But to them, because they're illegal and because of their leftist views, it's not even at all. They just completely ignore it. And when you do that, it's going to cause a lot of other issues when all of a sudden you do have the outbreak and you didn't do anything about it, and you shut everybody else down, like you just mentioned. The U.S. citizens are going to suffer, their jobs, their businesses, and the illegals are not. It's not right.
Absolutely. Victor, we see with the media that they were attacking President Trump at every turn over to COVID, and now we see just their hypocrisy on this and completely ignoring the reality on the ground there and the reality that's spreading across the country. I got a question though. What about the border agents? What's their morale like now? It sounds like it'd be really tough going to work when you're just overwhelmed day after day. And are they doing a lot of extra hours? What's it like down there?
Great question, Jim. I did talk to them about that. When I first approached them, they are on edge. I told them, easy guys, easy. What is going on? I'd never seen border agents like that in that kind of state. And they opened up to me. They opened up and they said, listen, it's stressful enough to deal with all these people coming in. We don't know how to do this. This is not what we're trained to do. This is not even a part of our job as caretakers. We want to go back to interdict. We want to go back to stop the flow and to remove people from this country, but they're not being allowed to do that. So that's one major thing. The second thing that they're so apprehensive and afraid of is the gag order and speaking to any media, because they said, don't you dare speak to a media outlet because you will face consequences. They think they might get fired or they'll get suspended for several days. And so, they're on edge and they're overworked, high hours. Everyone is down there. We have some more people detailed down there to the border to help out. But I put out a solution in my book that we need a surge down at the border, kind of like what happened in Iraq that was successful. We need a surge. We have 20,000 border agents, approximately 7,000 Homeland Security investigation special agents. I want to have a skeleton crew in Washington to process human resources stuff and admin stuff, and everyone else comes down to the border, and maybe National Guard as well. You saw 25,000 show up in a couple of days in Washington, D.C. that we did not need. We need them down at the border. Let's have them down there for a minimum of 18 months to 2 years. You will seal that border, and we will exercise our laws. We don't need new legislation. We have plenty of laws to exercise and to enforce, but they're not being allowed to do that right now. And that's one of the biggest frustrations. The morale on the ground, super low. They came from a high with the backup of President Trump, and all of a sudden that took a dip. I mean, a quick one. And, you start seeing agents calling in sick more. The fear is more because These cartel members, as you know, have taken over the human smuggling and human trafficking. It used to be that the human smugglers and that dealt with the humans was the coyotes were kind of a separate from the cartels. The cartels had the drugs and other illicit activities. That's not the case anymore. The cartel has taken over all of it. You will encounter the cartel. You will pay the cartel the fee, about $3,500 to $4,000 a head if you're from Mexico or Central America. Higher if you're from other parts of the world. And yes, they're coming from China. They're coming from Haiti, from Cuba, from Africa, and of course the Middle East. And you don't see a lot of that in the in the media. And they're in Mexico already, and they're waiting to come in. The border agents want to they're just desperate to do their job, and we need to allow them to go back to do that. And I think a surge would be great. But first of all, at this point, we need to continue to put the pressure on the Biden administration, because I think it's working. You already saw them announce that they're going to start apparently at least finishing some of the gaps on the wall. Because I did see that these huge gaps that in any construction project, you just can't stop it abruptly. And they did, for example, the access roads where the border agents use next to the wall to patrol the area. They dismantled the roads to put up the wall, and then they never finished any of it. We're talking about roads all over the place and the infrastructure around the wall. At least they go back and finish some of those projects and those gaps. But I would love to see that. But I think that's because of the Biden administration is noticing and coming to realize that, wait a minute, what's going on here? They might have, it was a knee-jerk reaction because they hate Trump, and anything that Trump implemented, they want to undo. And well, guess what? If it's working, it's not broken, and you don't need to fix it. And I think that hopefully, I'm hopeful here and being optimistic that hopefully some of these programs will come back and be implemented. And it might be wishful thinking.
Yeah, Victor, you've had some experience before with, when we're talking about the current occupant of the White House. You've had some experience with him before as vice president, because you were actually working in Mexico City, right? When Joe Biden was vice president and Barack Obama was president. And if you could just, tell our audience a little bit about your story and why you were there and what you were doing and what happened when you were there. It's such a powerful and important story that needs to be told.
Yes. I started my Mexico career in 2008, and eventually at first on the border on the other side of El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez. And then that led to my permanent assignment to the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City, the ICE office there, under HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. And it was tremendous amount of work, working hand in hand with the government of Mexico in a lot of aspects, and anything from conducting investigations to the prosecution of a case, a lot of training. And my main focus was human trafficking. That's my subject matter expertise. And I trained a lot of the federal law enforcement officers, trained the prosecutors, because Mexico at that point had just passed their first federal human trafficking law. I should say anti-human trafficking law. And I was very successful in taking down major human trafficking organizations that were bringing victims into the United States, into New York, Atlanta, Miami, women and children, and was able to rescue a lot of them and dismantle a lot of these groups. And I was doing that, also doing money laundering cases, arms trafficking cases. And it was just the busiest time in my career. And 2011 came around, and out of the blue, I got sent to an assignment with a new agent, Special Agent Jaime Zapata, who had just arrived from the Laredo, Texas office on a temporary assignment like the week before. And they told me, you're going to take Zapata with you to go pick up some equipment from our ICE agents from the Monterey ICE office. And I challenged the assignment because it was a very awkward assignment. They wanted it done in a day. There was no backup. There was no operational plan. Long story short, which I actually detail very, very good in my book. We were sent on this Highway 57 And we did pick up the equipment on the way back. We were ambushed by 2 SUVs full of Los Zetas cartel, and they pushed us off to the side of the road. And after shooting over 100 rounds at us, Special Agent Jaime Zapata tragically lost his life in the line of duty, was fatally wounded by gunfire. I was shot 3 times and miraculously survived by the grace of God as I sit here with you today. And it's important for me to tell the story, first of all, because a lot of people are not even aware that a U.S. agent was killed in the line of duty in a foreign country. And second of all, how this impacts the cartels, how they impact not just in Mexico, because a lot of people think, well, it's a Mexico problem. It really is not. They might be headquartered over there, but the cartels operate in the United States, all over our country, and in 40 countries abroad, all over the world. And they're a big influence on the poison they continue to bring, the fentanyl, the methamphetamine, the cocaine, the heroin. That hasn't stopped, by the way, even more so now with the open borders policies. And so we see crime, we see all these issues related to those drugs that they bring into our country. And along with the illegal immigration, a lot of these cartel members are illegally present in our country as well. So I wrote this book to describe that. I tell the reader where I came from, the investigations that I conducted. Then I go into detail about my assignment in Mexico. And the second part of the book is talking about what we're talking about today. People tell me, how do you know about the asylum that this was going to happen? It's not that I knew it was going to happen. It's just that I've been dealing with this for over 20 years. This is the issue also, again, that unfortunately not even the Republicans or the Democrats have really attacked border security. The first time I saw it is really under President Trump, where you could see the fruits of the enforcement, the fruits of actually implementing good policies that was helping secure our border. And so I talk about sanctuary cities. I talk about DACA. I talk about the wall, all in reference to my experience and what I would bring forward as solutions. And if people want to check out the book, Agent Under Fire, you can go to agentunderfirebook.com.
It's excellent. And I encourage everybody to pick up a copy of his book. We've got the name that's scrolling by here so people can see the name of the book. So I mean, first of all, I know I speak for Jim. We can't thank you enough for your service to our country. I mean, what you did is just incredible, especially with the human trafficking part of it. And I think that's the part really that me, at least as a mom, I have the hardest time with seeing all these kids coming across the border. And I've talked to agents before that say, we have no idea who these kids are with. We don't have time to vet them anymore. They used to have 72 hours to sit down, at least with the kids, and talk to them and find out if they were victims of sex trafficking or human trafficking. If they were sold by their parents, right, to somebody to get them over the border, right? So they don't know the answers. And now these kids are just being picked up by buses and dumped off in cities across America, right? I mean, that's right. And this administration doesn't want to give the agents access because they don't want these horrific stories to come out. And I think there's claims already of sex abuse at the San Antonio detention facility. And by the way, as of today, the number came out. There's already over 19,000 unaccompanied children in our custody. 19,000. Think about that. They came across with bracelets. They came across with a phone number written on their forearm. And we're supposed to, the reason they're in custody, they're supposed to be going over to HHS, Health and Human Services. These facilities, by the way, that's why it was chaotic, because Border Patrol, that's not what Border Patrol does. And these are actually the Donna Center and all these other facilities are Border Patrol facilities where you're supposed to get processed. And that's why they have these stations down there. But when you have hundreds of thousands of them, you have to build these huge ones. By the way, I saw them build the construction of the new facilities outside the Donna facility, 2-3 times bigger than the original one that's already overflowing there. And I'm thinking, this is not the solution. You don't build more facilities. You don't send them to convention centers and coliseums around the country. That's not the solution. That this is how the Biden administration continues to send these signals, right? The people that from other countries see that, wow, they're building more facilities. They're going to make room for me. How about we do not build anything? There's no room to put you anywhere, and we just don't allow you in because you're coming in illegally. How about that? What a concept, right?
I mean, why isn't that option being explored? There is no more room.
Right.
There is no more room. You can't come in. That's it. You will be detected at the port, at the bridge, or at the port of entry, or in between the ports of entry. You will be detected. You will be detained and possibly prosecuted. And that prosecution for a first-time violation of 8 USC 1325 illegal entry is 6 months in prison. And if you start doing that, then the signal gets sent to the rest of the world that you're going to go to jail. And all of a sudden, people are going to start saying, well, I don't want to go to the U.S. and go to prison. And that's the signal we have to send, not the signal that, come on over, just wait a little bit because we're building more facilities for you. That's not the way this should work. But you know, I'll continue to spread the truth of what's really happening. And
I was going to say, Victor, we actually heard Jen Psaki, the communication in the White House director there, and she was saying, we're not going to send back any minors. And we've heard Joe Biden say that too. We're not going to send back any minors. And she lectures as she says that. And if you look at the numbers, that's over 1 billion people in the world today. She's actually saying we're not going to send back any of these people who come across if you're under 18. It's absolute insanity.
It's absolute insanity, Jim. It's well, first of all, a 6-year-old can't come by themselves, right? So who do you think is going to bring them? It's going to be an adult, and since they're so anti-separating of the children, they're allowing the adults in there with them. They're not taking the child and deporting you saw the video I sent you. They're not sending the adult back. They're accommodating them as well.
It's their ticket.
Yes, the ticket. That's why you see even 2-3 kids with these family units.
Right.
It is. I don't even want to go into. I could tell you horror stories of my investigations of child trafficking and human trafficking with these women. By the way, forced labor. Let's not forget that. A lot of forced labor. That a lot of these people that are coming now, these cartels, I tell you, they are sophisticated. These are not drug gangs. I want people to know these are like a well-oiled corporation. These cartels are, with their intelligence, their money, their personnel. They know what they're doing. And you know what they're doing now? They're taking people on credit. Okay, you don't have the 4,000 right now. Some are being extorted, by the way, additional money right there. The women are being raped. The young men are saying, if you want to cross, you're not going to turn yourself in. You're going to go over here. We're going to smuggle you with 200 pounds of methamphetamine. That's how you're going to gain access.
Wow.
You know, so they're exploiting every way. And they're saying, if you can't pay us, it's okay. You're going to pay us from your final destination. You're going to work for us. Whatever it is that you do, either illegally or legally, you're going to send us the money. And so the cartels are going to continue to own these people in a indentured servitude type of situation. It is not good overall. A lot of the places where these individuals are going, they're illegal themselves. So we don't know what they've been up to. And I don't want to say that they're all bad people. I want to be clear here. Some people obviously just want to come and have a better opportunity to work and that situation. But if that's the case, why is the burden being placed on the United States? When is the burden going to be shifted to their own country, for their own country and their own government to be responsible for their own citizens? Why is the burden placed on the United States? You know, we have like we talked about earlier, we have plenty of issues all around, not just crime in our own country that I think we need to solve. Do I want to be able to help other countries? Of course. The United States is one of the most the best giving countries in the world. But we are at a point and at a crossroads where we better stand up and protect our sovereignty, because this is what this is about.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you're correct.
I was going to say, Patty, Victor was telling us before we actually went live about when he was shot. And there was some more information that you were telling us. It was just absolutely shocking. It had to do with Joe Biden and Barack Obama. And I was hoping you could share that before we run out of time
today. Good point, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So the aftermath, people ask me sometimes which one was worse. And I tell you, I struggle with choosing if the shooting was worse than the aftermath, because several things. 2 of the weapons that were used against us in that shooting are tied to Operation Fast and Furious out of Phoenix, where the ATF was allowing guns to walk. In other words, allowing them to go into Mexico without any follow-up, without any detection. Two of those weapons, the ATF did that in Texas, allowed these guns, ended up in the hands of the Zetas cartel that ended up fatally wounding Special Agent Jaime Zapata and shooting up our vehicle and wounding me. So that is still ongoing, and we're still seeking answers about Operation Fast and Furious with the Terry family because of Agent Brian Terry that lost his life 2 months prior to our shooting. And so that, and in the aftermath of I outlined this and explained it in the book. The treatment that my family and I went through is not a good one. Actually, was a horrible one. The government, especially DHS and ICE, they seemed not to care what happened to me. I mean, I was a surviving agent, and since they really weren't familiar with what to do, they weren't prepared. My family and I got the short end of the stick from day one, from the moment that I was actually recuperating from my physical wounds in Washington and trying to find a place to live. We left our apartment in Mexico City and never returned. My family was extracted. They gave my wife 1 hour to pack, and we never returned. Just like that, if you leave your house today, you're never ever going to go back. What do you need besides what you have in your luggage? I didn't even have clothing. I went on a day trip. I asked the doctor after they flew me from Mexico to Houston to the trauma center there. He asked me, the head surgeon, "What do you need, Victor?" I said, "How about some clothing?" My clothing was torn up and full of blood. And he gave me a brand new pair of scrubs. That's how I arrived in El Paso, Texas to meet my family. And then all of a sudden we end up in Washington, D.C. In Mexico City, it was 72 degrees. It was snowing in D.C. And we needed jackets. We needed toothbrushes. We needed a pantry. We needed to enroll our kids. Oh, by the way, in order for our kids to go into the Virginia school system, they needed vaccinations because they were coming from Mexico. I mean, a lot of issues. And I'm in a wheelchair, and a lot of issues. And it kept on going to the point where they didn't want me back. And I struggled with that. I was a very loyal federal employee. And so eventually I sought an early retirement. They denied that, and they granted a medical retirement. And I separated in 2015.
Wow, that's just an incredible story. I mean, the compassion of the Obama-Biden administration is just unreal. I mean, that just never would have happened under President Trump.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I've talked to ex-director Tom Homan, ICE director Tom Homan, and he even apologized for the prior administration. I told him, "Tom, you don't have to apologize for them. You weren't there." He says, "It would have been different, Victor, under this administration." I said, "Absolutely, I know it would have been different. It would have been nice to have gotten a phone call from the president. How about from Janet Napolitano? The Homeland Security was my boss. That would have been nice to get a phone call and say, 'Hey, how you doing today?' But none of that. It's just completely forgotten." Wow. So as a survivor, I wrote this book. I hope people could read it and to continue Jaime's memory for protecting us about everything that we're talking about, protecting our homeland and tackling on a very, very difficult mission and job.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you enough how much we appreciate everything you've done, everything you continue to do. And, hopefully you can report back to Jim and me about kind of what's happening on the border. Keep us updated with any new developments. I mean, I know there are always new developments on the border, and every time we hear something new, it's more shocking than the last time.
That's right. And I keep in touch on a daily basis with my sources and contacts. And so I'm on this literally on a hour by hour basis sometimes. I get videos, I'll get, and I'll share stuff with you. And we could, if you want to come on again, we could do it again, or I'll just share that information with you so you could disseminate.
Yeah, no, we'd love to have you back as a guest. I mean, your story is fascinating, and you've really shined a pretty bright light on what's happening down there, the lawlessness of the border, and then, what our border agents are going through. And, they bring that home to their families. It doesn't just end when, they're finished with their shift. I mean, these people are, I know in our state, our governor wants to abolish ICE, or said she wanted to abolish ICE when she was running for governor. She wanted to abolish ICE. So, you don't always have a lot of support, especially from the Democrats. You just don't get that support. And so
I just saw a report here that popped up on my phone that they set the ICE building in Portland on fire this morning or right now. It's just, it's this hatred to ICE. And I think people realize exactly all the other things that ICE does to protect our homeland. By the way, intellectual property rights, counterfeit goods, counterfeit vaccines. The people that want to get their vaccines, there's a lot of counterfeit vaccines out there, counterfeit masks that make you sick. Our HSI agents stop all that from trying to come into our border. They do a lot more than drugs and human trafficking. They do anything that has a nexus to our U.S. border. They're there to defend it.
Incredible.
Thank God they're there.
Thank goodness. Yes.
Most of us really appreciate everything, that the border agents and ICE are doing for us. I mean, most Americans do appreciate it, and we really are grateful to all the sacrifices that you make. And we're grateful to you for keeping up the good work that you're doing and reporting back to everybody about what's happening down there. Well, and I hope that everybody does pick up a copy of your book. I'll put a copy of it up on our Facebook page at 100% Fed Up, and on our website with the article that we write about our interview. We'll put a copy of your book up so people can know where to go to purchase it.
Thank you very much for doing that. Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed the conversation. I know I come across, once I get going, I get really passionate about it, because that's just something that I have here in my heart, that as a Hispanic American, my parents came here the legal way. I was born and raised here, and I'm a product of the American dream. And I just, it's just in my blood. It's just the way I feel about our country. I love my country, and I want to keep it as is. And I see it changing, and I don't want to change in that direction.
Well, we appreciate you being here. We can't thank you enough.
Victor. You're an American hero. I'm so glad you're still with us, and I apologize for our country that never gave you a reception home that you deserved. And I'm just so glad you're telling your story. So we'll both promote your book at Gateway Pundit and 100% Fed Up, and hopefully we can talk to you again sometime soon.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Be safe.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Welcome
Victor.
to Sleepyville, where no one sleeps deeply. The pillows are bad and the sheets are made cheaply. But there is one family in the Sleepyville town that uses My Pillow for the best sleep around. My pillows are adjustable for proper alignment, and the Giza sheets breathe so they feel no confinement. So order My Pillow for great sleep refinement.
Why are they so chipper?
Their co-workers wondered.
So much energy and zest, like they've had the best slumber.
And when they peeked in the window, the secret was clear. My Pillow sheets, pillows, and mattress toppers appeared. My Pillow is breathable and lasts more than 10 years. It's washable and dryable and was manufactured right here. Giza cotton is what makes the softest of sheets, and the mattress topper helps support pressure points for deep, dreamy sleep. So click the link below to stop counting sheep.
We want My Pillow!
The citizens of Sleepyville cried, but they didn't realize the family had a surprise inside. They were all given a My Pillow to keep. We spend a third of our life snoozing, so let's make it quality sleep.
I got towels too.
And mine are blue.
So welcome to My Pillowville, where everyone sleeps on the pillows that align and the softest of sheets. With the support of the mattress topper, the people snooze deep and wake up well rested, and their deadlines they keep. So if your bed feels like rocks and your sheets feel like Brillo, you need better sleep, which means you need My Pillow.